Breaking news on WWE. Two big executives are no longer with the company. We also have huge news on Hulk Hogan on today's episode of WrestleZone Daily. If you're with us for the first time, don't forget to get down in the comments and get your comments on screen.
Kevin.
Hang on, bud.
There's no music.
I got it. We'll do it live, baby.
There we go. WrestleZone.com. This is WrestleZone Daily. We're not perfect. I didn't say we were perfect. Did you think we were perfect? Did you think we were Mr. Perfect? Did you think we were up in the air and hitting it out mid-strike? Heck no. We're talking about two WWE executives today that have been released from the company. Huge news about Hulk Hogan, brother, and so much more. From the NBC Tower in downtown Chicago. I'm Kevin Kellum. Follow me on the Twitter at Kev Kellum. Joining me from Tampa Bay, Florida, home of WrestleMania 36, Pirates of the Slamavian. We're talking about Robert DeFelice. A lot of big news today to get into today, right, Robert?
Yeah, lots of big news, lots of stuff that's sneaking up on us. WWE has shaken things up at the top of their corporate ring. So not the wrestling ring, but the corporate ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll also talk about AEW NXT ratings and how both those shows are setting up some big things and leading up to AEW Revolution at the end of the month, just a few weeks away. And of course, NXT Portland in just a few weeks as well. Plenty to cover, and we're talking about Hulk Hogan, brother. But let's get into the big breaking news. It is our leadoff story here. WWE has released two long-running executives within the company, and this is a big move. It has impacted their stock price on the New York Stock Exchange. So, what is the latest, Robert?
So the latest is WWE announced about an hour ago, I would say, that George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, the longtime co-presidents of the company, have been replaced. They've been let go by the company. Vince McMahon said in a statement, "I would like to thank George and Michelle for their 10 plus years of service and contributions to the organization. We have a deep team of talented, experienced, and committed executives across the organization, and the board and I have great confidence in our collective abilities to create compelling content, engage our global fan base, increase revenues, and drive shareholder value." Now, the key here, Kevin, is that since this news, WWE stock has plummeted 20% in after-hours trading.
So 22% and what a period of time? How long is that? Just about 2 hours?
And in the after-hours trading. So I would say since about 4 p.m.,
that's a lot. Now that could stabilize tomorrow, or it could stabilize within the next week. So, and we're also entering WrestleMania season. This tends to be a time when the stock goes up too.
And they're going to report their Q4 2019 earnings next Thursday.
Do you think maybe that this firing had more to do with that? We have people asking different questions about why this may or may not have happened. There's plenty of information here about why this did or did not happen. We don't know all the details just yet. There's been some business moves that WWE has made recently in the past week. Some small that on the surface don't seem like big stuff, but for example, they've reduced the amount of live events they have. Non-televised events have been reduced greatly to the point where I think some of the crews on Raw and SmackDown, that includes the production staff as well, only wrestling about or performing at about 10 shows a month. It's a lot less than they were doing before. So that's a great relief on some of the guys. But maybe there's some reasoning in that. I don't know how that connects all the way to the top, because especially with executives that have a lot more to do with licensing and how the TV rights work and how those things are done. And it's odd that this would happen, as WWE enters, financially one of the more profitable times in their time. But a lot of people point to this maybe just being tenure. Maybe this just being these people met a certain plateau that WWE doesn't want to compensate past a certain limit. In corporate America, sometimes it happens quite a bit.
It does. And we'll know more by next week when they actually, have to answer these questions. And maybe it's just time for a change. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, and to note, this is their chief financial officer and their chief revenue officer. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is WWE. They're going down. I was right. This is happening because of AEW and the ratings lost on Wednesday nights, and me and my friends we've been telling you this since October 2nd. The apocalypse, the fire is burning at Vince McMahon's feet. Vince didn't listen to me and my friends on our Angel Fire website that we started in 1996 to remove Vince McMahon and change the structure of the World Wrestling Federation."
Oh, well, I don't know who you're talking to back in the year 2000, but my guess is it was time for a change. They were seeing some dips, and maybe they just felt like, hey, let's go in a different direction. Maybe.
Where are the dips financially? They just signed $2 billion TV deals.
Yeah, but they've seen some dips in terms of the growth. They tried to, I think it was Q2 of last year, they tried to say, well, a lot of superstars were absent, and, things didn't stabilize as they thought they would. So maybe they just decided it's time for a change. Also, this is just me and my brain spitballing here.
Mm-hmm.
But who's to say that this doesn't have to do with maybe more structure of the Alpha Entertainment and XFL side of things?
I wouldn't say that. I would say Vince McMahon and Alpha Entertainment and the company he's put into that, they've gone to very, very fine-tune a stabilized structure to say how separate that thing is. And
not that separate. I just got an email from WWE saying, "Hey, watch the XFL next week."
Sure, you're gonna hear. But I mean, how separate is WWE and Fox Network now? There's some synergy and partnership there. I'm not saying that's not going to be there, but as a financial company and how you are filed with the government and how your tax structure is and how you have licensing, yes, XFL has TV deals with ABC. WWE does not. That's a pretty separate company there. Right. So I could say in that regard, when you actually dig past just the first page of the book, there's a little bit more there. I'm not seeing anything there.
Well, we'll see. I'm just, like I said, that was just me thinking of something because the XFL is looming. But also, again, I think more than likely it's just time for a change. We've had you for 10 years. It's time to go with new ideas, fresh ideas, somebody who's more geared towards the 2020s and not the late 2000s, 2010s.
Well, I mean, these are two people that definitely were a part of a huge growth period for WWE. These were people that were right there at the start of WWE getting into the most advantageous period of using their content in the biggest growth possible way that I think they've done it in quite some time. The digital expansion of WWE and embracing social media, some would say a little bit too late, but now full tilt to the point where I mean, it's hard to find many other brands in entertainment and sports that are as engaging as they are on social media. And then on top of that, you could also look at what they did on YouTube and then what they did with the network. The network is the biggest thing the company may ever do in terms of the way it can stabilize them as a company. There's some people who've always theorized that what if they never needed a TV deal? What if they went the Netflix route where the only way you could watch WWE is on the network? There's some people.
I think then you're forcing yourself into a very niche market.
Sure,
I don't think they want to do.
I don't know, but I mean, they're WWE. More people would do that than any other wrestling company in the world. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just putting all these things out there. Barrios and Wilson were a huge part of that. And they were a huge part of bringing in the partnership with MLB Media that did that. Now with the backing of Disney structure, the licensing that came with that, the Mattel deal, which is a huge deal that they got in the last 10 years. I would say that both those names were involved in that deal, and how WWE really shed the Attitude Era. These people were a critical part of that, of how WWE changed the culture of the company and truly became a company of the millennium now, as compared to saying it's 2000 and we're extreme, I would say Barrios and Wilson were critical players in that.
Yes. They took them out of lids and put them into, something high class.
Mm-hmm. And immediately someone says to me, like, Vasquez texting in here with his LA Dodgers hat on, saying, WWE needs to go back to the Attitude Era straight up, dude.
I like that. That's the ending. Okay. I was gonna say, okay.
Anytime I hear anyone at straight up, it's either man or dude has to follow. You can't just
right. No, they don't need to, and they don't need to worry about this loss. I think it's good to restructure your business. It's good to restructure even in life, like the people around you. Sometimes you need new thoughts, new ideas. You need to grow, and I think that's what this is for WWE.
Eric Big Grizz Billups asking, do you think WWE will hire in-house or look outside?
They're looking outside, but
to bring people in, which route do you think they'll go? I think they'll look outside the company. There's a lot of people that have big jobs in sports and media that have been in WWE. They've gotten a lot of executives from different studios. They've gotten a lot of executives from the NFL and the NBA. Some people from Major League Soccer, I know that I believe have done some work there as well in the executive levels. And it's a huge company. Another thing about WWE is people got to remember that this is not a small company. This is a pretty significantly large company that operates in a very, very unique way in comparison with many other entertainment companies in the world, because they do wrestling and because then they also film and produce it themselves. The fact that they produce it and it's not, they don't like, for example, AEW, they have their own TV director, but almost everything else in that crew is done by Warner Media people. So there's a little bit of a difference there with it as well. Other people looking in here saying, I talked about how they have lost their CFO and their CRO. Shah Jawad saying WWE needs PCO. All right. They need all the abbreviations there. Other people bringing up all the different things with this here. WWE Raw and SmackDown needs to be like NXT.
Guys, I think we're forgetting something here. We're literally talking about the corporate structure of a publicly traded company. We're not talking about the in-ring product of Raw and SmackDown right now.
No.
Which, by the way, it's really good.
We're literally talking about executives.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about people who will never step foot in the ring, will never step foot on television. This is different.
Coming up in a minute here, we'll have big news on Hulk Hogan. And what may or may not be happening with him in the future in WWE.
Is he the new CFL?
Listen, brother, I think in Q2 we got to work on getting these guns bigger. That's what we got to do. Also,
first thing, brother, you want to make some money? Or we have the Nitro Pro.
We're gonna open up Hogan Beach jobs in places where they don't have a beach. We're gonna bring the beach to them.
Minnesota, brother, you're on the beach now. We have fun here, folks. This is what we do.
Yeah.
What you need to do is smash that like button and share this with your friends.
People not liking my setup. Huey Jordan saying, gee, I'm so glad I get to stare at your ear. Change your god-awful setup.
Well, hey, Huey. Thanks for checking us out for the first time. Kevin, look at me. Yeah. I think they would like it more if you look at the camera.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal. And our friend Iridium Firo from Rest Friends saying, "Oh no, please, Hogan, no Hogan. What's the story with Hogan? You know what? Why tease it? Let's just get into it."
February 27th, WWE is heading back to Saudi Arabia for the second annual Super Showdown event, over there anyway.
Mhm.
And Hulk Hogan is reportedly set to join them. This is reported from PWI Insider, and I have no reason to not believe that.
No, I mean, this would be the second time Hulk has been utilized for some type of appearance in the very, very profitable Saudi Arabian shows. And obviously, the Saudi Arabian fans very fond of seeing those big name legends that have been on TV for decades now. And Hulk definitely is maybe the first or second name when you bring up legendary wrestlers. So that is absolutely true. And you know,
What can
Hulk,
you see him doing here? There's nothing set in stone. What can you see him doing?
I mean, well, what did he do last time? So the time before, he was like the host. He came out, kind of cut a promo, and right. This last time, though, he's much more involved in the TV build to it and tried to make it much more of a storyline. It actually turned out to be a pretty fine match, a 5-on-5, kind of almost like a Survivor Series style match with Team Flair versus Team Hogan. And I remember enjoying this match and thinking, you know, for further circumstances in Saudi Arabia where there's just such a weird vibe to the show already for American fans sometimes. For me, I was like, this is fun. Like, this is a perfectly fine wrestling match. Under these circumstances, with two big characters, kind of promoting it and making it feel like it's something larger in life. Obviously, there was some odd segments building up to this, where you know, Hogan and Flair definitely didn't like having to be in a scripted environment with 9 or 8 other guys all talking. There was some clunkiness to it, but it turned out fine. It wasn't a match I would describe as one of the best matches of the year, but a fun match. And now, can Hogan add some star power to a new name like that? I think that's what you're going to see him do again. And maybe he does it with a singles wrestler or possibly with a tag team.
Well, last time we saw him try to praise, Shorty G and Ali. What if this time he's like, hey, Mansoor's a cool guy. And he gives Mansoor the old rubski. You know?
Mansoor is the overboy in Saudi Arabia, as he's the countryman there. They definitely love Mansoor. They put him on all these. I think he's been featured on. He was featured on the Greatest Royal Rumble, right? No, he was featured in the Battle Royal.
Yes, the largest Battle Royal ever.
And then the last show, he got to defeat Cesaro in a really, really strong match where like kids were crying and losing their minds over it.
Right.
So there's something he said for the reactions he's going to get, and maybe Hulk wants to be a part of that.
And maybe he's just like, hey, brother, we're here in Saudi Arabia. Make sure you check out WrestleMania.
Well, you bring back one legend for the Saudi Arabian shows. A lot of people think, return. Mike McKenzie said, bring back Sting. Are you going to see any other big names possibly on this show?
So I believe it's Raj of Wrestling Inc. who's had a report about Sting potentially being utilized on this show.
Get in here with that shirt. What shirt? I'm sorry, we're being interrupted right now. Steve Traficani, what shirt you got? No, get right here in front of the camera. Right here. What is that? Look at that shirt.
Oh, let me show you.
Look at that.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny that you have that on. That you have that on. Look, I'm going to be like Total Recall when Cueto reveals himself to Arnold. Boom! We didn't even plan this. Bro, why are you wearing the same thing? Why are you doing this? It feels like we're showing our bellies to people.
I know. I'm scared my shirt's gonna pop up right now. I was like, no one needs to see this hair, man. No one needs to see this.
I gotta pause long enough to be able to get a screenshot of it.
I got it.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, buddy. Supporting the cause right there. You guys can get the shirt as well. It is up at TeePublic. Once again, all of the proceeds from that go directly to the fire relief efforts in Australia for the Central Fire Authority of Victoria, Australia. Get a good look at this artwork. And if you haven't watched it already, you can skim through it. It is our beautiful, beautiful Royal Yumble shirt. Get it at teepublic.com. $20. If you didn't get it earlier, you missed out. I could have got it for $13. And you notice that we had it in 2 different colors. You can get it any color you want, any size you want. And you can get it on a hoodie as well. So I had to take that opportunity to take all that and jump right into it. But what were we on?
We're on Sting. From one ridiculous thing to another. People want Sting back in the ring. And I say, not today.
Not today. But I would think, the Saudi Arabian shows are known for having the legends come back. Undertaker's on, he's been on almost all, 3 of these now? And I would think that this is another way. I've heard people theorize that there's so much money tied to performing at these shows, right? Shawn Michaels came out of retirement just to do one tag team match at these shows.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
And they had the match with Goldberg and Undertaker, which...
Yeah, they did. Guess what? It wasn't good.
And but Goldberg got hurt, and that's why the match wasn't good. And
I mean, I don't know. Like, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time, but the match was far from special. Also, by the way, Triple H got hurt in that match because these guys maybe shouldn't be going. And Sting, I don't know, man. Maybe he's feeling the energy from Edge's return. Maybe he's feeling, he wants that Undertaker match. I want the Undertaker match too. But I still think if you're going to do that, you need to do that at WrestleMania. An American crowd deserves that match.
I think if you do Sting versus Undertaker, it needs to be at WrestleMania. Now, the physical limitations that Undertaker has are clear, but he can still go out and do some really, really impressive things, especially when I saw him in Extreme Rules. If that involves him being in a tag match, sure. But if it's him versus Sting, let's do it. Let's figure out a way to do this. But Sting was a guy who got injured in the ring, a very serious neck surgery, and now he's in his 50s. Now, I've heard from Mark Henry, a pretty valid source. Mark wouldn't put this out there on SiriusXM and Busted Open if he didn't mean it, saying the last time he saw Sting, he looked amazing at the SmackDown on Fox premiere. And why would Sting be at that premiere? Why would Sting be there? So you can connect some dots there as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I won't get my hopes up.
A lot of people will just spitball on their Sting versus The Fiend in Saudi. Taker saves Sting. I think this Super Showdown show won't be skippable in that it'll be a big international event to make, WrestleMania something that you can't turn away from. So I think you're going to see a lot of angles cut for WrestleMania on this show as well. So let's get into that. WrestleMania. Who's not going to be at WrestleMania? This has been a growing, developing story. Who's not going to be on the biggest show of the year? And the names that potentially may not be involved are kind of surprising. Very surprising. And they are The Undertaker and Ronda Rousey. Now, The Undertaker did not appear on WrestleMania last year. This is the first time he has not been on a Mania since 2000. And Ronda Rousey main evented the show. Reportedly at this time, thanks to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, both those people are not reportedly in the plans for this year's mega show at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium.
Well, I no longer want to go. If I can't see The Undertaker, there's no point in living. So, that takes everything away from me, Kevin. I don't know. Like, Taker wasn't there last year. I feel like that set a good precedent for okay, this doesn't have to be the Undertaker show anymore. We can do this without Taker. Ronda, I'm surprised about because I figured they would milk her for every single WrestleMania that they possibly can. And I'm not totally convinced that Dave is right on this one.
I'm not totally convinced that he's right on this one either. But I would also say, plans could change. They could show up at WrestleMania too. Undertaker did that in New Orleans, the last one that was there, and had an impromptu match where they were they not going to have this match, right? And they ended up having it. And it turned out to be like a glorified squash match, which the storyline, though, for it was probably better than the match, right? The promos that John Cena cut and the moment and relief you got of John Cena getting his ass handed to him by Undertaker was kind of fun. I think there's something to be said for that. And what you do with Undertaker at WrestleMania now is you count on one hand how many more of those he has left. We thought he was done at WrestleMania 33. Here we are at WrestleMania 36. and he's still.
We thought he was done at 30. Oh, we thought it was real. We also thought he was done at 28.
Sure.
Taker is an anomaly, and until he says no more, I don't believe it.
Yeah, so a lot of people with different opinions on this. Sound off if you're with us live. What do you guys think here of Undertaker potentially not being at WrestleMania? So if he's not at WrestleMania, does that mean we get more of him at Super Showdown? Is it utilized there?
Probably. They're paying the big bucks. They're paying that Undertaker money.
But are they paying money where they just we get him and then you don't get him here? Like, is it that? Is it that type of?
That does suck. I mean, I hope not.
I don't think that. I hope that's not the case. Other people with different opinions here. Matt Pessel wants to see me versus you at WrestleMania.
Why? People have this like weird thing about wanting to see us fight each other, and we're like the New Day, man. We're bros. Where that's bond. You're not ripping apart, guys.
Hold my hand, Robert.
I will, Kevin. Here.
There we go. We're good. We're getting through it here. Elliot Jameson saying he thinks Undertaker versus Seth Rollins would be a cool match at WrestleMania. Maceachern Davis saying no taker, no takers. It's kind of a funny sentence just to say out loud. Other people already theorizing on the different things here. I don't know. I think it would definitely feel like something's missing without the Undertaker there. I definitely felt like something was missing without the Undertaker there.
I agree. The Undertaker is synonymous with Mania, perhaps more so than Hogan or Rock or Austin.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be there.
Yeah, I think he has to be there. I think he has to be there in some capacity. I remember last year when I was there and they did the segment with Elias and he did his Rock concert and John Cena came out and did the return to his Doctor of Thugonomics persona and beat him up. That was, we didn't know we were getting John Cena. So that was a fun surprise. But then in this case, I thought, we're going to get Undertaker. This is the perfect spot for Undertaker to come out and just beat up a goon and give people a little bit of the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I think with the Undertaker, you want to see him have a match in some way or another if he can have it.
Yeah, I think he should absolutely have it.
Do you put the Undertaker in the Battle Royal? Do you put him in?
Absolutely not.
No, but I mean, you think about it. It's light work. It's not as hard.
I think you put Hogan in the Battle Royal, and I think he wins.
What is with you and Hogan in this Battle Royal? Do we still have a bet about that?
I don't know if we should make a bet about that, but I definitely think Hogan's winning the Battle Royal.
You think Hogan's winning? Do you guys agree with? Sound off here. All right, we already got Hulk Hogan working Super Showdown. You're saying Hulk Hogan with all the different time on his body, the and fighting the greatest challenge of all athletes and entertainers, time. And you're bringing this up. You tell me Hulk Hogan's going to win the Battle Royal.
I think it's a safe match for Hogan to just end his career in WWE. Just do it. Just let him finish his career in WWE. He doesn't want to say he ended it in TNA, so don't make him go through that.
Rich Murphy here bringing up the other big name here that is potentially not a part of WrestleMania, Ronda Rousey. Now, we didn't get her at Royal Rumble. She did post a watch-along video where she freaked out about her friend and fellow MMA fighter, Shayna Baszler, and her success in WWE and her kind of strong performance in the Royal Rumble, nearly winning the match and being one of the final two competitors in it, losing to Charlotte there. Rich saying Ronda running in and costing Becky the belt to Shayna at WrestleMania. What do you do with Ronda at WrestleMania? What do you do with Ronda on the road to Mania? I think you got to have Ronda Rousey. I do think you need a big name to go up against Becky Lynch, and I don't think it's going to be Charlotte.
I don't think it's going to be Charlotte either. People seem really dead set that it's going to be Charlotte and Rhea for the NXT title, which could potentially change the dynamic of everything. Change the dynamic of what the Royal Rumble is, change the dynamic of WrestleMania. I think it's got to be Becky versus Ronda, if not Becky versus Shayna. And Shayna doesn't feel special. It doesn't feel big to me. I mean, Shayna is amazing, but we can see her any day of the week.
Pretty crazy here. People sounding off about your crazy theory of Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. Christopher Brown saying, Robert, everything I've heard. Oh, please tell me more. I'm just busting balls, buddy. Hogan wants to finish his in-ring career in a match against McMahon. Hogan has said stuff like that. But
this is why I think the Battle Royal is such a good compromise.
Yeah, it's perfect. He doesn't have to bump.
He can keep the shirt on until he wins and then tear it off and do the Hogan thing. And people are happy because they feel like they're 10 again, or they're mad because they're mad at Hogan. And it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And then Shema Gopirian saying, this is just all buffoonery.
Buffoonery.
Hey? Buffoonery.
Buffoonomania is running wild on the WrestleZone Daily.
Buffoonomania, baby. Let's get into what happened on Wednesday night with AEW and NXT. Ratings are in. AEW still sustaining a lead, but taking a dip in the ratings. They drew 828,000 viewers overall, which is slightly down from last week's 871. Came in number 3 for the night on cable. That is not overall on television. It was defeated by the basketball game from the NBA and the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
That's a shame.
Meanwhile, over in NXT was down from last week's show of 712,000 viewers, around 769 the previous week. Came in at number 37 with a .22 rating and the 18 to 49 demographic. It's much lower than AEW's .34 for the night. So that's what we get from WrestleZone.com and Show Daily on the radio.
Listen, let's spell this out for everybody who's about to say the sky is falling on NXT.
Yeah,
AEW is on TNT one time a week.
Yes.
NXT can be watched the very next night. NXT can be watched on many streams that you can find on the internet. Not that we're advocating that you do so.
It's also available on Hulu, too. It's on Hulu.
It's also available on Hulu. There are so many different ways to get NXT. If I had to choose, I'd probably say, I got to watch AEW because it's the one that I can only see once.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about AEW this week. Some wild stuff. Still building up to AEW Revolution. The lashes of Cody and so much more. Wild in-ring action. What were your takeaways from it?
Jon Moxley is very good unscripted. He tried to take on 10 men at once, and that didn't work out well for him.
How do you like one-eyed wild Snake Plissken escape from New York, as Tyler Treese called it yesterday on the Daily? Jon Moxley, this wild look he has.
I like it. I think John in another life must have been a pirate. I do like the line from Chris Jericho of yo ho ho and a bottle of dumb because you're stupid. And Jericho is easily having the best run of his career. Fight me. I will fight anybody on that. This is Jericho's best run. Even if he's a little fat, it's okay.
Come on. He's a man in his late 40s. What do you want?
Somebody made the argument that, hey, look, Edge is in good shape.
Yeah.
For a man in his late 40s.
Yeah, but he's also hasn't been in the ring for a long time. So I think
it's strategic by Jericho. I think Jericho wanted the bigger build.
This isn't me like talking trash, right? This is me just seeing him at the end of November. And I've seen him in the ring fairly up close, maybe like 20 or 30 yards away from me. He looked the biggest I've ever seen him.
Because he is the biggest he's ever been, and I think that's a good thing. He understands.
People bring that up, but I was like, his arms look the biggest I've ever seen his arms.
He understands he's in a landscape where he's the big guy now, and he's playing that to the hilt. That's why I said I think I'm perfectly fine with it. We saw more of the Dark Order. They want to attack Christopher Daniels and all that he loves. We saw more of drunk Hangman Adam Page. That's a very interesting storyline. They seem to be building towards him and Omega defending against the Bucks at the pay-per-view. Cody is Cody, and he's a genius every time out. Let's see what else we have. Well, that was pretty much it. We saw Sammy Guevara crush the larynx of Darby Allin on a skateboard, so I think they might have a match at the pay-per-view. But it was a lot of very strong inner circle stuff. Like, this is the first time they were really all together in a while. So I enjoyed that.
That's fun. I think they need to do that more. I think the Elite are a big thing that drew a lot of fans over to this as an internet wave and momentum. And they don't do that enough where you get to see all of the members of the Elite together on the show at one time. I'm surprised they don't do that enough. I know, obviously, they have to feature and create all these different talents. But that's one thing where it's like they've definitely gone a complete other direction where like we got to feature this guy or that guy. And it almost sometimes has a 205 Live vibe to it where it's like you're throwing a bunch of new people at me and it's hard for me to retain any of them and for a lot of them to break out. But for you, the big takeaway is still Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and that chase to the title match.
Moxley's a star. Jericho's a star. Cody is a star. MJF, a star. The people who can work the mic are going to go further in that company because there's so many that are so in-ring heavy.
Yeah, and it's something where it's, for years you saw fans wanting wrestling to change to more of an in-ring product. Now it definitely is. Certainly much more in-ring driven. And now the personalities of the guys that pop out, it's like this reversal. Like you give and then you want the other thing. Over on NXT, there's plenty to set up here for Portland in just a few weeks. And NXT has set up quite a bit.
Right. Tommaso Ciampa beat the crap out of the Undisputed Era. He laid them all out. Adam Cole defiantly said, I've signed my name. I don't care if I have to fight you because I'm Adam Cole.
In blood. In blood, it was signed.
Yeah, Ciampa accidentally bleeds and then takes his blood and signs the contract. Very cool accidental moment. The Broserweights are the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle.
Incredible match. Just absolutely incredible. I'm going to say, if you're a fan of wrestling tournaments, the Dusty Rhodes Classic is a pretty solid, reliable tournament in terms of just match for match for match, just being absolute bangers, move for move, every guy pushing the limit of what could be done in what you're doing in the ring. I really enjoyed this.
I think it was one of the better things that NXT did last night. That's not to say it was a slouch by any means. You saw Kaden Carter pick up a surprise win over Chelsea Green. You saw Dominic Dijakovic and Damian Priest do things that big men are just not supposed to do. And they're fighting to earn a shot at this other big man, Keith Lee. And this is the mid-card belt. Like, it's all topsy-turvy now in my head. Like, these guys are doing poison ranas and they're 7 foot tall. It's a crazy time to be watching wrestling.
7 foot tall? You gave him a whole extra foot there?
Well, Dijakovic is big.
He's a very, very big guy. I wouldn't say he's small.
But no, they're big dudes and they're doing moves that they shouldn't be able to do. Damian Priest did come up short, so it looks like they're going to go with the tried and tested Dijakovic and Keith Lee in Portland. That's not set in stone, but you never know. Matt Riddle loves looking at Pete Dunne. He made sure to say that last night. I thought that was hysterical. NXT is good. It's a solid show, and I'll say it every week. It's the best wrestling show on TV, even if I have to cover the alternative.
Well, and like I said, guys, you got to get this out of your head that you have to pick one over the other. Like, you can pick one over the other to watch live on Wednesdays, but you can watch it whenever you want. It's okay.
It is okay.
Go watch it. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's okay, guys. You're not like, but the idea that the one thing that drives me crazy, the people rooting for the other show to do bad, that's starting to be obvious when people are trying to say they're not doing that. But come on.
Yeah, but they are. And you know what? Shame on you.
Shame.
All of you.
Shame.
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 You know,
shame on you.
Be a fan, enjoy wrestling. We say it all the time. Kevin, should we get into questions?
I think we have time. I think we have time for questions. I have a tight window here. I'm zipping down to the south side of Chicago tonight to perform at the Cork and Kerry. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be in my neighborhood where I grew up. And my brothers and my sister are going to be there. So that's kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh, they're going to be judging.
I have a whole chunk of material. It's just about them. Like a majority of my set is just going to be jokes about them. So people are with me on that. Shame.
Shame.
Yes. As a Catholic man, more people need to be shamed. Yes. Is one of the greatest tools we have. Yes. Other people agree with you about NXT. But that's what I got going on. You can hear me on 101 WKQX today. We're giving away tickets for My Chemical Romance, who are headlining Riot Fest in Chicago in mid-September. The big music story of yesterday is one of the biggest bands of the 2010s is back in a huge, huge way, and we're covering that over at 101 WKQX. You can stream it anywhere in the world. Just search 101 WKQX on TuneIn, iHeart, our website on desktop. Great music, commercial-free afternoons every afternoon, Monday through Friday, too. So.
They're playing 4 hours away from me. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, and then, dude, you got to go. Because you ever see them live?
I've never seen them live.
I've never seen them live, and they put on a great, great show. You got to go. And then this Saturday, I will be at the IO Theater performing in the Chris Farley Cabaret, which is actually really, really cool. And I'll be doing the After Dark comedy show at 10 p.m. in Chicago on Saturday. Also, go get those shirts. Go get those shirts, everybody. The Royal Yumble shirt. You can see it right there. Go get it. Go get it. And Robert, what do you got going on?
Yeah, I got going on off this website, WrestleZone.com. I do the news every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the rest of the week, come over at Fightful.com with Sean Ross Sapp, who might have undergone an appearance change. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more about that.
Appearance change?
We'll find out more.
What are you talking about?
Definitely check out Fightful.com, Fightful Select. Check out Fightful on YouTube, and maybe you'll find out.
All right, we have breaking news coming in from WrestleZone. This one just being sent over even by Andrew Ravens. He's saying the most recent edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer reveals the current injury status of AJ Styles. AJ Styles was believed to separate a separated shoulder in the men's Royal Rumble match this past Saturday. After taking an edge from Spear, he completely rotated in the air and made a nasty landing. The injury was confirmed by Styles while he was on Mixer. That is a streaming video game service. So he's known for streaming on there and playing video games with fans online. And he confirmed it. Meltzer said Styles is optimistic 4 to 6 weeks away from a full recovery. Styles doesn't blame Edge for the injury, but rather he wanted to take a big bump for the spot and simply landed wrong. Wanted to make Edge look real cool. Give it up for AJ to try and make somebody look cool and then beat himself up in the process. I think Styles, if he can get healthy, he's absolutely going to have a presence on the Royal Rumble. But could it be a much more reduced presence because he's not going to be a big part of the road there?
He's going to be – I think he'll be fine. I think he can do the build. And I think he won't miss it. Or do you just save him for the next night and then have him be Edge's next opponent after Randy Orton?
I mean, they're going with Edge versus Orton. That's happening. And don't be deterred about that. That is the direction they went on the night after Royal Rumble. That was a big show closing segment. That's the way it's going. But with AJ, if he even gets healthy in time and then they write him into the show and he's ready to go again, are you going to be able to have somebody with a storyline that will have the payoff of being at WrestleMania in time? I just don't know if the time lines up. The unfortunate thing is, what if he gets put in the Battle Royal? Which is where you kind of just, for lack of a better phrase, you put loose ends. It's a good match. It's a good, fun match, and it can do something for the guy who wins it, and they do it with the women as well. But it's Royal Rumble Jr.
Yeah. AJ and the Andre wouldn't be the worst thing.
I love that you call it the Andre.
It's the Andre. It really is. I think it's just another feather in his cap. Well, who knows? Maybe they got nothing for him, and they go, hey, you can make magic with John Cena. Call out John Cena. Like, they have so many pieces to play with that sometimes a lot of it just ends up getting left out.
Tawab Ahmed also mentioning that Samoa Joe is also out of action. It's sad. Team A's top 2 are out. Joe suffering some undisclosed injury this past week on Raw, and it was clear he took a dive out of the ring. He took a nasty crash. Some people think it was a head injury. He was removed from the match.
It was confirmed to be a concussion.
It was a concussion.
It's a concussion.
And so this guy's had a bad run on the main roster.
He needs to have a full WrestleMania match. He's been on the main roster for 4 years now, and he hasn't had a major match. I think the match with Ray last year was 30 seconds. 30 seconds. He needs time to play in WrestleMania.
I agree with you. But, how healthy is he going to be in time? Concussions are not something you just heal from. There's no time frame for that. And also, how many concussions has he already suffered?
We'll never know. It's sad truth. We'll never know because he was in an era where you were still hitting people over the head of the chair.
Oh yeah,
and
but
taking
not just people over the head. You were clocking people,
like
you know,
and taking vicious stiff headbutts from Kurt Angle, and like
Daniel Bryan. Hey, I saw those two in Ring of Honor in the early 2000s. They beat the snot out of each other, and I would say there were times when I saw him wrestle, I was like, this.
Morishima knocked Brian Hyde out.
Yeah, I think I was at that match. I think that happened in Chicago at the Frontier Fieldhouse. Broke his eye socket right in front of me.
Detached his retina.
Oh man, it was brutal. All right, you ready for questions?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's jump right into them. Chris Green, do you think Orton has a match at Saudi and Edge shows up?
Potentially for Orton having a match. No, for Edge showing up.
I could see that as well. I think the Super Showdown show may be watchable TV for a lot of fans because it will feature a lot of things that cement what you're going to see for WrestleMania. We know the main event for Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. I expect Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar to clock horns at some point on the Super Showdown show to really sell it to international audiences. Here we go. David McKenzie texting in here, a UFC to WWE question. We've gotten this quite a bit recently. Conor McGregor, very victorious in his most recent UFC bout against Cowboy Cerrone. Yes, if you think Conor lost to Cowboy, would he have went to WWE?
No.
The speculation comes up every time Conor McGregor, a huge, boastful, very charismatic star who's talked trash about WWE superstars and said, I'd slap the whole locker room. I'd walk right through him. You tell him, Robert. Robert, you get over there with Shawnee Rossap and Billy Pritchard at WrestleZone, and you tell him. You get out there and you tell him who's notorious. You tell him who is.
I genuinely think they would love to have Conor McGregor if he didn't go around punching old men in bars.
Yeah, he's gotten into a lot of trouble, and that's just putting it lightly. So don't worry about that. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions here flying by. People saying, what is this one here? David McKenzie, is the Judas Effect the worst finisher ever?
No, it's not, bro. It's really
Chris
not.
Jericho's spinning elbow.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
You like it?
I like it. It's different. It's high impact. It's out of nowhere. The worst finisher ever is the Cobra. Like, stop it.
It's a funny bit.
It's a funny bit, but there you go. It's a bit. Like, it's not supposed to be a finisher.
This is a question I'm surprised to get. Jessica Hoffman, she wants to know what's going on with the female superstars in WWE. Who do you guys see taking, I believe is what she was saying, taking the women's tag team belts from Asuka and Kairi? Now, they haven't defended these on television in quite some time. Kairi suffering an injury at the TLC pay-per-view, pretty serious one. Now she's back in action. She made her return to the ring at the Women's Royal Rumble this past Sunday. And of course, she was with Asuka at ringside this past Monday on Raw. I can see these being featured on the pre-show at WrestleMania.
I'm going to say no to the pre-show. But I do think it'll be a fatal four-way with maybe, you getting Fire and Desire in there.
They did this last year. They did a fatal four-way last year.
Not for the – they did do it for the tag belts. But, that's the role of tag team titles on WrestleMania, whether it's the Raw, SmackDown, or women's.
Notorious KEV. That's right. Thank you so much, Anna Williams, texting. A very fond friend of the show. Appreciate it here as well. More questions coming in here. Tawab Ahmed, which one was better? Sammy Guevara doing the Steiner math outside of the Royal Rumble and a toy tank, or Brock Lesnar dancing to MVP?
Brock Lesnar dancing, because Brock Lesnar's Sammy Guevara doing a bit for the internet is fine. But Brock Lesnar hearing MVP's theme song, presumably for the first time, and just starting to get into it and dance, that's real Brock Lesnar. It's raw. It's funny.
Absolutely agree. We will return on Monday with a new episode of WrestleZone Daily right in the late afternoon period, sometime around 5 p.m. Central. Get in there right before Monday Night Raw. Of course, keep your eye on WrestleZone.com for all the breaking latest. And also go into the archives. If you missed an episode, you want to hear more, you just want us on in the background, subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast, WrestleZone Radio. We just dropped an exclusive interview with TJP. TJP, former WWE Cruiserweight Champion, former Impact Wrestling superstar, still doing some stuff with them, but he's very busy with Lucha Vavoom, which are playing the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles on February 12th and the 13th. And I got to talk to him about his 21-year career in wrestling. 21
How old is he?
He's in his 30s, so he's been wrestling a long, long time.
That's wild.
And we get into this. We didn't plan on doing this. I thought we were gonna have like a 10-minute interview, and he was like, "No, let's keep going." And so we got into this very cool stretch in this interview, and this is really why I want a lot of our younger fans in their 20s to go check this out. Is he talks about what is wrestling before you have a cell phone? What is wrestling before you can connect with people on the internet? What is independent wrestling, and how could you actually get to and from a show? How could you get booked? How could you get around? And how difficult that was. Like he actually pulled the curtain back. You see all these documentaries and a lot of wrestlers vlog their own experience and say, all right, we're going to the building. We got to make our towns. We got to get our
those AOL instant messages to the promoters.
He talked about that. He said, he literally said the only wrestling website that you could go to when I started wrestling was WWF.com. That was it. There wasn't, I mean, if there was another wrestling website, people didn't know it, right? There wasn't it wasn't viable. And communicating with someone on the internet was just email. And it's a really, really cool interview. And we get into all of his career about what is he going to do? What's his future? Is he interested in AEW? Is he interested in Bellator MMA? Is that still on the table? So we get into a lot of that with TJP that is up now on the WrestleZone Radio archive in a podcast audio exclusive. Also, you can watch our episodes on demand on Facebook as well. We're starting to post these up on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube page as well. A bunch of fun extras on there. We'll return next week. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Follow me on Twitter at KevKelm. Follow him, Robert DeFelice, at Dude Felice. Robert, tell him what they got to do.
Enjoy wrestling.